the walls could speak, they would tell of the stories of the people who were within those walls. But if I pause for a moment and understand that before the Europeans came to Canada, the stones retain the stories of the grandparents. The stones become the guardian spirits because they contain the stories of the people. If I were to, for a moment, understand those stories and let the stones cry out, they would speak of harmony and of creation, of the lakes, of the mountains, of the birds, and of the people.
It's looking for a name. That's my name, so don't find me a name. This is really the first time that I'm going to stand in front of a group of people and talk about my life. That's been very private. And my brother is the one that's gifted to be a speaker. I'm not comfortable standing in front of people to speak. Today is Elders' Day. I wish to acknowledge all our elders and thank them for being here, for what you have taught us and what you have yet to teach us. You are the most important part of my life right now, learning from you. Native spirituality, what does that mean to me? It's being Okohunwe first, my Indianness, to be born a Mohawk person and then brought to be baptized as a Christian Catholic. I have strong ties with the traditional values. I'm proud to be a Mohawk, Kahnawake, to still have my own language, to be able to speak it and communicate with my elders and my family, to be so fortunate to know something about my culture and the opportunity to learn about our Mohawk ceremonies and to accept our Creator as one God, to appreciate and give thanks for all good things around us, above us, and below us. Native spirituality is to be able to communicate with our Creator the way our ancestors did years ago, before our people were told that what they were doing was wrong, that it was paganism. Without understanding, this is how we pray. Sunrise ceremonies, burning of tobacco to give thanks. I carry tobacco all the time, my mother gave me. To give thanks and praise to our Creator for all living things. The beating of the drums, rattles, our songs and dances all have special meaning to me. And the feeling I experience when I'm in full traditional dress, this is me, Okohunwe. Being a Native person is not only wearing beads, feathers, ribbon shirts. That's just the significance. But what we experience inside of us, that we have something special to share with each other and with our Creator. And this is very hard to explain to a non-Native person. I just can't imagine how a Native person can begin to understand it. It's something we inherit. My brother touched a little bit about our growing up yesterday. It was difficult. My family, starting with my grandparents on my mother's side, and Mrs. Jacobs is my grandmother too. She's my great aunt. It's my grandfather's sister. But she's always been my grandmother. My parents and my brothers all went back to traditional ways and gave up Christianity when I was around 10 or 12 years old. They didn't all go at once. They started going back to traditional ways one by one. I remained a Christian because I was comfortable being one. For one thing, I always loved to pray, loved the rosary. And I was learning about Gadili the Gahuita, who was becoming a big part of my life in prayer. The Longhouse members did not talk about Gadili in the Longhouse. They did not talk about saints or the Blessed Mother. My family often invited me to go with them to the ceremonies. They taught me about traditional values and answered my questions that I had and still do, but I just could not bring myself to give up my Christianity. I felt comfortable in both. I have questions about both. Neither the church nor the Longhouse is perfect, and I suppose we will only see a perfect place whenever and if we ever get to heaven. I would go to church after attending a traditional ceremony and listen to our Mohawk priest, Father Michael Jacobs, yelling at us that if we step inside the longhouse, we have committed a mortal sin. But I certainly never felt like a sinner. I felt good about being there, just like I felt good about being in church. So I didn't listen to him much. I really felt sorry for him because he didn't know what he was all about as a Native person, in a cultural and traditional sense, because he was not brought up that way. I have to write my notes because my mind goes blank when I'm in front of people. My family accepted my decision to remain Catholic. That was left up to me. It was never a problem with us. I felt the hurts my brother felt when they made fun of the Longhouse people because I was living with them and I loved my family. I loved my brothers. But it did go on in the schools, I remember. I was the only one accepted, and everybody looked down on my brothers because they were Longhouse. My mom taught me some of the Mohawk hymns I now sing, and even the Indian prayers. Sometimes my mom and I would go to a wake and there was no one there to help me with the prayers and singing, so she would help me. My mom was brought up a strong and strict Catholic by her parents and grandparents until her father changed and returned to traditional ways. She always says, we went back to our ways. My grandfather liked to drink. He was a farmer. Whenever he took the products, dairy products in, he would get into drinking, and he would get mean sometimes. When he joined the traditional Longhouse, they helped him quit drinking. He had an entirely different outlook on life and became a different person, actually a better person. My grandma and mom and everyone in the family were so impressed and thankful for what happened to him that they started to learn the traditional ways and eventually join him. My mom is a clan mother in the Longhouse. My dad and brothers, all faith keepers, and I have a young nephew, also my godson in the Catholic Church. He was baptized in the Catholic Church, who is a candidate to be a condoled chief in the Longhouse. That's quite an honor in our family. I have yet to go through a naming ceremony in a traditional way, but I plan to do it soon, along with my 3 sons, so we can receive our Mohawk names properly. My grandfather told me, he said, if you want to remain a Christian, then be a good one. But always remember, in order to get into the happy hunting grounds, you have to speak your language and know your sounds and have your proper name, according to the names given by the clans. I never forgot that. That was one message my grandfather gave me. We used to talk a lot. In the mid-70s, my cousin, I do have one sister, we're 16 years apart. My cousin, Sister Carrie Mitchell, Delia, approached me and another friend, Elizabeth Francis, to help organize a singing and dance group, which we call the Akwesasne Singers and Dancers. We started with about 25 members of all ages. We met frequently, learned the hymns both in English and Mohawk, and we also translated the modern English hymns into Mohawk. The young people learned our traditional songs and dances, and we even did crafts and put on fundraising events. We applied for funding to various agencies and received some funding for our trips and various projects we took on. One project that we worked on was to reproduce our Mohawk hymn books and to teach our people the traditional hymns. We had 500 hymn books reproduced and stored quite a few boxes in the rectory when Sister Carrie left to go out west. Recently, I went to collect the books and I counted 33 books in the box, which we needed for a recording of the Mohawk hymns we are presently doing. So the book seems to have been in demand if they were given away or sold, but we had no control on that. The Akwesasne Singers and Dancers became a well-known group, and we traveled to quite a few places by invitation. Sister Carrie's father, Alec Mitchell, who was also a relative of mine, was sort of our manager. Everybody helped out in some way. It was a good working group. We had fun and we learned a lot from it. I sincerely believe that there was a lot of Native spirituality present in our group at that time. So this is nothing new to me. We are now able and willing to help spread it around in our church community. And in Akwesasne, we're doing it through our Gaduri Circle Committee. Our goal is to promote and support Native ministry in any way we can, especially through Native spirituality and working with our Native priests, deacons, sisters, and lay ministers within our church and with our traditional sisters and brothers. I am committed to working with Ron Boyer, Sister Cattery, the Cattery Circles for the Native Ministry Program. I would like to see our youth involved in some way, put some traditional moral values back into our lives. We are falling away from it, and if the parents and concerned Native people do not do anything about it now, our youth will be lost people. I think the Native Ministry Program, whenever it gets underway, has a big job to do for the Native people. And I sincerely believe it will be successful because it is our young people who are asking questions. So let's give them some answers so they can carry on for us. I believe this seminar had to happen. As anything else, when we try to do anything with Native spirituality, there is always downfalls. But we are learning to pick ourselves right back up, right away, and here we are, we did it. Believe me, it was a struggle. And no one knows that better than Ron and myself. I believe it creates a bond just by working together because we all have a common goal, and that is to work towards the development of a Native ministry program for this area. We do need the cooperation of the non-Native clergy, vicars, pastors, sisters, and that they stand behind us and support us fully, or get into our circle as silent partners and let us do our work. There was an article Father Barry McCordy wrote on the Quarterly Home Missions newsletter, Easter 1991, titled, "Missionaries can only succeed when they walk away." That is so true. Our Gaduri Circle complimented him on his article when we met him at the airport on our way to Oklahoma last year. We spent that week with Father McCordy. He's a special person. I have copies of that article here if anyone is interested. It's up here on the stage in reading it. We were hoping Father McCordy could join us today. He understands where we are coming from and really listens to us. And last night, we talked to him on the phone, and he's on his way here. He'll be here today. That is all I have to say right now. If anyone has any questions, I'll try and answer them. I'd like to thank our host, Deacon Ron Boyer, Father John Welsh, for having us here, and all the organizations, especially from Akwesasne, that donated to this seminar. If it wasn't for your support and donations, we would not have been able to carry this off. Go.